Hey, Ron, it's very good to see you. Veterans Day is November 11th, a day set aside to honor those who serve and have served our country. And you are a veteran, and I was talking to you offline. I think you have a really incredible story. You were drafted in 1968. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, long and short of it, I knew at that point in time that I was going to end up in the military and I wanted to fly. So I went and took a bunch of tests with different services and eventually got accepted into the Air Force. All I had to do was pass the physical. And 3 days before the physical, I got pneumonia. And that was that. And my draft board lady, who had drafted her own son, obviously was not going to show me a lot of love waiting. So eventually I got drafted in June of 1968 into the Army.
And so you served in the Army. Tell me about your rank, years of service, and where you were stationed.
Well, I did basic and AIT here in the States at Fort Knox and Fort Polk. I got sent to Fort Benning for a while and then ultimately was sent to Vietnam. Um, I was in an area northwest kind of Saigon, a place called Tay Ninh Province. I was in the mechanized infantry. I was what we always called as a grunt. Um, and I started my service there. I got a nom at the tail end of March of 69
Hmm.
and spent 11 months and 21 days there.
And Ron, tell me about this photo.
Well, I'm not sure I remember it all. In a mechanized infantry unit, we drove armored personnel carriers. And I'm not sure what I was doing there, but looking in the back door, I probably had been on perhaps a supply run because it looks like we had just filled up the track there with food and ammo to take somewhere. That's my guess.
Hmm.
I was a squad leader, um, an E5 sergeant, and various and sundry guys worked with me, and we worked together in and out for the time I was out in the field.
Thank you for telling me the story behind that. I really enjoy those old photos. Is there anyone you would like to thank for Veterans Day?
Oh my. The people I think about most are the ones that I served with who didn't come back, and the ones that I met that I served with at Army reunions.
Hmm.
Um, Probably the one guy that stands out to me was we went through a series of officers when I was first over there. And we got one, he was named Captain Arthur Minifield. I think he's since passed away. I did meet up with him in 2000 in January. He was one of those guys. He was such an incredible officer. It was his second tour that you literally would follow him anywhere. He was one of those guys that you knew that he would do his very best to give you the very best opportunity to have a good day.
Hmm.
Uh, and he cared about us in a way that was kind of unique. He was a great officer. He really was. It was a real privilege to meet him again after about 30 years.
Yeah.
But I think about the guys that didn't come home, and I think about some of the guys that I still have some contact with who are in the same platoon or company with me. And that's a real blessing. It's
Yeah.
it's always fun. I tell my wife Nancy when we go to these Army reunions, here's how you're going to tell when I've lost it. If every story starts out with, there we were on a hill naked with just a stick and they were coming, I said, that's when you got to take me to the vet's home and give me cookies and things like that. That hasn't happened so far yet, but that was just one of those times in a person's life that you got through and you're very grateful that you got through it.
I can't imagine. And I'd like to say that I am very grateful to hear your stories. And I think it is important to share those stories. And I think that it's a little way too that we right now can thank a veteran is just to listen to stories. Is there an appropriate way you think, or what is the best way to think of that?
You know, the best way is to, when you see somebody who's served, no matter what capacity, you treat them like you would treat anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
You ask them about themselves. What did you do? Where were you? When did you serve? As opposed to just saying thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, that's nice, but I think what makes more sense is just to see if somebody wants to talk.
Yeah.
Because not many people ask us things. You know, it's almost as if you're not allowed to talk about it or you shouldn't talk about it. And some guys don't want to talk about it anymore, and you need to respect that. But you also need to understand it's like meeting somebody for the first time. You ask them about what's going on. Where did
Right.
you serve? What did you do?
Right.
You know, and they'll tell you as much as they want to tell you or as little as they want to tell you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I could sit here all day and listen to your stories. I think they're really special. And again, I'm grateful that you're sharing them with us. Is there anything else that you think, any message that we should communicate to people who are watching, or maybe a message for the younger generation who doesn't have a draft? You mentioned that that was almost like a rite of passage. What do you think people should leave with?
I think they should have a simple understanding that the people who have served in the military, no matter where they've served, they actually have served.
Right.
They've given a part of their life to do that. And as opposed to thinking that perhaps there's something fundamentally wrong with somebody who serves, that's a little bit of what happened back in the 70s,
Mm,
that people really do serve out of a sense of wanting to, out of a sense of responsibility to the
right.
country.
Right.
You know, we always used to complain about being in the Army, and it, you know, we just moaned and groaned. That's what you're allowed to do when you're in. But understand that people who serve, now we have you know, voluntary. These guys are incredible soldiers. They have on purpose signed up,
Right.
and some of them have paid a terrible, terrible price. And more than just saying thank you, instead of doing that, just in your own heart, recognize that what they've done, they did out of a sense of duty and responsibility, and they did it despite what the potential cost might be. That you just do what you do. So just appreciate that, and you know, ask them questions, talk to them. We're all human beings.
Right. I think that is incredibly well said. Ron, thank you very much for sharing your stories with me and with us and everybody who's watching. And I would like to wish you a very sincere Happy Veterans Day.
Well, thank you. This is thank you for asking. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thanks, Ron.
Thank you.